for Rina's number. We did a trip. She stayed in Israel. She met her husband. Okay. So for those of you who are like very challenged with Judaism, believe in all this, is Rina studied under a friend of mine, Rabbi Jacobs, Los Angeles, LA. That's the real deal. And with that, we want to say thank you very much, Rina. Thank you. Oh, by the way, a year ago, we had a couple. They got married. They had a baby about 6 weeks ago. Mazel tov in class. Okay.
Very exciting. Thank you so much, Steve. I always feel so full of gratitude whenever I get to see you, because you led me on my path to teaching. Many years ago, you gave me my first opportunity to teach, which set me on my course for my passion.
In the negative, but that was
Yes. And also with the JIC in New York. And then afterwards, letting me be a madricha was very special. So you've had a really tremendous impact on my life, as you've had on many people's lives, and it's a real honor to be here today. I also want to thank the hosts. I don't know where they are, but there you guys. Thank you so much for opening up your home.
Ready.
Okay. Thank you so much for hosting us, and that Hashem should bless you and your family to always have great health and happiness, and your home should always be full of Torah and guests and only good things. I'd like to dedicate this class to the refuah shalem of my mom, Jacqueline Bat Alia, and my sister, Indal Bat Jacqueline, and also for the Hatzlacha of Sharon Moshe ben Jacqueline and Aaron Meir ben Miriam, and also for Ilui Nishmat David ben Zohar and my dad. And also, if you guys just want to take a minute and just set a kavanah, the intention of coming together, learning Torah, we're drawing down the Shekhinah, Hashem's presence, that in the merit of us being here and learning together, that Hashem should bring lots of healing into your lives, and you should have many breakthroughs. We just entered the month of Nisan, which is the month of freedom. It's a month of redemption. It's a month of miracles. That Hashem should bless you all to experience revealed blessings, revealed miracles, and that you should really create a kli, a vessel for all the light that Hashem wants to give you.
I also want to thank Daniel Siegel. Don't interrupt. Daniel Siegel is always there helping, schlepping with Daniel. He's over here. Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
Okay, let's get started. So today we're going to be doing a special Kabbalistic astrology workshop. It's going to be in 2 parts. Part number 1 will be a brief introductory class where I talk about where in Judaism is astrology mentioned. Is it part of our tradition? How do we learn about it? How do we embrace it? What do we do with it? That'll be part 1. We talk about the sources in Kabbalah. And then part 2 will be a really super fun, interactive workshop where we all break up into groups based on the 4 elements, and we get to learn about each other and the core traits of our signs, and really discover what is our tikkun and what is the gifts that Hashem has given us, and how we could use that to manifest our potential. I've given you all a worksheet. You should have it in front of you, and we'll refer to it in part 2. In that worksheet, you could also see that there's going to be some questions and answers. We'll talk about that later. I have pens for you. If anybody wants pens to take notes, let me know, and I'll just pass around some pens just in case anyone wants to take down some notes. And in the meantime, I also wanted just to share a little bit about myself, that my background is in television and film. One of the ways that I get to teach Kabbalah is also through media. I produced a documentary called Kabbalah Me a few years ago, which was very exciting. And I also teach a lot of classes on the Zohar and Kabbalah for women specifically, and I have a women's group that I learn with both in person and online. So if any of you are interested after today, feel free to be in touch with me. My contact information is on the worksheet. All right, let's get started. So who knows what astrology is called in Hebrew? What's the word in Hebrew for astrology? What? Mazela, or if you're Israeli, it's astrologia, right? But so in Hebrew, we learn about mazelot. And mazela comes from the root word, which is mazal. And when we use the word mazal, what's the context that we use mazal? Mazel tov. And mazel tov, what does that mean when we wish somebody mazel tov? Good energy flow, good luck. So mazal comes from the root word in Hebrew, which means nozel, which means to flow. And already in the Hebrew, we see the core essence of what astrology is about. Astrology is really about understanding the flow of energy that comes from the upper world, from the spiritual world down into our world, and how it influences us. So we know that when Hashem created the world in Bereshit, we know that Hashem used divine speech through the Hebrew letters. So there's a very famous holy book called the Sefer Yetzirah, which is attributed to Avraham Avinu, and it's the book of formation, and that's really the main source book in Kabbalah to learn about this topic, and that's where we get a lot of this stuff. So in Sefer Yetzirah, we learn that every month has a unique energy. So how do you say month in Hebrew? Chodesh. And what's another Hebrew word you hear in there? Hadash, which means what? New. Because every Chodesh there's something Hadash, there's something new. So what we see is that the Hebrew calendar is 12 months of a spiritual journey. Like it's a 12-month personal transformation program. And so what Kabbalah teaches us is how to tap into the new energy that is part of every month. And so, for example, we're in the month of Nisan right now, and Nisan is actually Chodesh Rishon. It's actually the first month. And most people think that Rosh Hashanah is the first month of the year, but it's really Nisan. So really, I should be wishing you guys Shana Tova, because we're in the first month. And so at the root level, Nisan is when the world was created, but it was also the time of redemption. And so in Kabbalah, we learn about how the Hebrew letters are connected to each month. So for example, the letter Hey is connected to the month of Nisan. Hey, it's like it's a breath word which is connected to speech, because this is the month that is all about speech. So like every month we have something specific that we're supposed to work on. So this month is the month of speech, next month is the month of healing, the following month is the month of seeing, the following month is the month of eating. Each month we have something specific that we're meant to work on. Now it makes a lot of sense that this month is the month of speech, because what is the essential mitzvah that we have in the month of Nisan? Right. And what did we do in the Haggadah? We tell stories. What are we telling the story? Why do we tell the story? Exodus? Right. And so is telling the story just to recount something that happened in the past? Why do we tell the story?
So that happened now.
What, 1 second, a show of hands, what were we saying?
As if you're reliving it.
So it's like, it's a personal story. It's not just something that happened in the past. It's something that is happening to us now.
No.
Correct. So what did you want to add?
No, it's so that we learn from it now.
Correct. So Kabbalah teaches us that when we are celebrating the Jewish holidays and rituals, we're not really just like remembering something that happened in the past, but we're really tapping into something cyclical, a cyclical energy that repeats itself every single month. You need to get a cup of coffee because you keep yawning, and that's like super hard for me to teach like that. But are you an Aries? Okay. So no, like literally you're like yawning every 2 seconds. So Nisan Nisan is really about the time when we redefine our story of redemption. It's our time that when we think about, okay, what is the thing that is holding us back? What is it that we want to break free from? What is it that's like our personal exodus? What is our Israel? What is our place of redemption? Where do we want to go? And so when you tap into our tradition from a place of connecting to it personally, it becomes so much richer, so much deeper, so much more meaningful. So my question to you is, if Kabbalistic astrology is so interesting and so relevant and practical, what's the problem? Why do so many people say, oh, astrology is not kosher? What's the problem with learning astrology? What's that?
Jewish people are above them as well. So we're different.
So therefore what? So therefore we're not allowed to, what's the ... that we're not allowed to?
We're not allowed to tell the future or assume based on astrological events that things are gonna happen to us, and we're above it, and we praise Hashem, we can rise above it.
Yeah, so it's not, it's about recognize, in Judaism, free will is a big deal. It's all about asserting our free will. The whole point of why Hashem created this world is for us to assert our free will. But the Talmud actually goes into this in a very powerful sugya in Masechet Shabbat, where it talks about how sometimes you might think that, we are above the zodiac, but they give lots of examples of how actually we are definitely under the influence of the zodiac. And so there's a sugya there that talks about, it's Masechet Shabbat, page 156 Aleph, how the day that you were born impacts your personality. So, for example, do you guys want to hear some examples?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone here actually know what day they were born on?
Yes.
Really? Not your birthday, like the actual day. Okay, good. So this will be meaningful for you. Okay, good. So,
The day of the week.
the day of the week. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll start.
Right.
So we'll start. Okay, so the rabbis are very dramatic here. They're going to say a lot of very dramatic things. So just listen to this. So Rav Ashi says, one who's born on a Sunday is either completely the best or completely the worst. So he can either be a king or he can be a thief. Why? Anyone want to guess why that would be? What did Hashem create on the first day?
The light and the dark.
The light and the dark, exactly. So there's two extremes. Exactly. You could either go in the light, and so you see that they're showing we have free will, right? We can choose. We can either tap into expressing the light or expressing the dark. But if anyone here born on a Sunday, okay, do you feel that sense of extreme in your personality?
I just want to say, but today they're doing their best.
That's good.
Monday, so they're doing good.
Okay, so what would be an example of feeling this extremes in your personality? You don't know? Okay, anybody want to share how you would feel that in your personality?
I can share.
Go ahead, what's your name?
Dean,
Dean, go ahead.
sometimes I can use my charm to my advantage, and sometimes I can use it to get my way in other ways.
Okay. Nice, okay. So let's go to the second day. Second day, the person born on the second day is going to be an angry person. Why? What happened? Well, let's see. Right, we know, what do we know about Monday? Monday is the only day of the week where it doesn't say Kitov, right? Whenever Hashem created the world, and every day he said, and Hashem saw that it was good, and right, Kitov. And Monday is the only day that it doesn't say that it was Kitov, remember? So Monday is not such a positive day in general. We know it's not such a good day to start things, even though that's how we start the week in America. So let's hear what it says. One who's born on the second day of the week will be a short-tempered person. What is the reason for this? Because on that day, the second day of creation, the upper and the lower waters were separated. They were divided. And therefore, they tap into that energy of like separation. Always, there's no unity. There's always a sense of separation. This is who here is a Monday person? Do you find, yeah? Does anyone here that's born on a Monday feel like that's in your personality? Not at all.
I would say.
Yeah.
I would say I do get frustrated easily,
You do,
but
okay.
I do have the composure.
Oh, that's good.
Emotional control.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. There's tendencies, right? Yeah. So the Jewish calendar is always from the Erev, right? The night before is when you count. Okay, cool. So let's continue on the third day.
Or at night, or during the day?
No, like I just answered, the Jewish calendar starts, your Hebrew birthday starts from the evening, not from the morning, from the night before, right?
You were born the night.
Okay, so on the third day, you guys are gonna love this. One who was born here on a Tuesday. Okay, whoever's born on a Tuesday is going to be super rich. Why? What did Hashem create on the third day? Grass and vegetation, right? And also, what else do we know? What else does the Torah say about Tuesday, Yom Shlishi? Hamayim Kitov, correct. Kitov twice.
By the way, the majority of billionaires were Tuesday. True.
Are you sure?
A lot of them were Tuesday.
Really? That's like a legit thing? Oh, I would love to look that up. I could add that to my class. Okay. So like he said, Tuesday was the day that the vegetables, the vegetation, and so it's connected to abundance, right? Okay, so next one, Wednesday. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. One who was born on the fourth day will be a wise and enlightened person. Why? Because the lights, the heavenly lights, right? Hashem created the moon, the stars, the sun on Wednesday. So they were hung on the heavens on that day. And wisdom, Chokhmah, is likened to or, to light. So who here is born on a Wednesday? Brainiacs, I see over here. Yeah. So do you connect to that? No?
Sorry, I keep thinking when I hear about astrology, like how much in-depth understanding is there in terms of like correlation with views? Like I keep thinking like if there is a long-term correlation, there should be more in-depth learning about it.
Well, you're in the right class if you explore that. Okay, so one who's born on the fifth day will be a very kind person. Who knows what was created on the fifth day? What did Hashem create on the fifth day? Why? What is the reason? Because Hashem created the fish, and fish are sustained completely by Hashem and the kindness of Hashem alone. So they are connected to kindness. That's why. Also, fish is also a symbol for protection because they're in the water. So it's kindness, chesed. That whoever is kind is always protected. Who here is born on a Thursday? Do you find this in your personality? Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. So on the 6th, wait, Steve, you still, what day were you born on? Oh, beautiful. So Erev Shabbos, so you're a Shabbat child. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, so Yom Shishi, one who was born on the 6th day of the week will be a spiritual seeker. Rab Nachman Bar Yitzchak said this means he will be one who seeks out mitzvot. Why? Because on Friday, Yom Shishi, that is when we do the most mitzvot in preparation for Shabbat. So, no, but he's Shabbat day. He's on your Friday afternoon or Friday. Oh, I have Shabbat. Me too, by the way. I'm also a Friday. Okay, then Oh, I'm scared to say this one. Okay, one who was born on Shabbat will die on Shabbat because they desecrated the great day of Shabbat on his behalf. And he was called a person of great sanctity because he was born on the sacred day of Shabbat. I don't know, I don't know. I don't really connect to this. It's a little intense. But Yom Shabbat, what I've always learned from my teachers is that that when people are born on Shabbat and also when they pass on Shabbat, it means that they were very holy. Because on Shabbat, the people who are in the upper worlds in heaven, like when they pass, they don't suffer. Hashem doesn't administer any punishment on Shabbat. Anyway, so what do we get from this? We get from this that they're saying, okay, there is an influence, because if there wasn't an influence, why would they tell us that if you're born on this day, then this is your personality, right? And then they go even deeper. This is really wild. They talk about the sign of Aries, which is the month we're in, which is Nisan, and they say that a person who is born in the month of Aries loves blood. So you're like, okay, so what that means is someone who expresses that tendency through being a butcher or through being a surgeon. And I have had experience. I mean, I don't meet that many surgeons. There's not that many people in the world that are. But whenever I have met surgeons, I'll just ask them just randomly, just to see if this. And I have met a bunch of surgeons who are Aries. So there's a lot of MS here, and it's like really interesting when you start to see this. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing here is that we see that even in ancient times, the Chachamim, Chazal, were showing us that there's emes here. They were supposed to connect to this, but it's all about what do you do with it? It's like everything has two sides to it. How do you use it for the positive? Like someone who is an Aries could use it for the positive and heal people and be a surgeon, or chas v'shalom use it in the negative way, right? So it's all about what do you do with what you're given, and that's where we exercise our free will.
Question.
Yes.
Repeat one more time, connection of Aries and a surgeon.
Yes. In the Talmud, the rabbis say that people who are born under the sign of Aries, which is Mars, Madim, Mars is the planet of war, so it's like a very strong energy. That they have a tendency to spill blood, and they also said they like blades. It's very
Offensive argument.
yeah, because we'll go in.
Like that, I speak for it.
Well, when we go into the workshop, we'll explain why they're like that. Yeah, they like blades. Some of them are like hairstylists, right? That's another way to express that. So we see that this is part of our tradition, and there's a very famous commentator on the Torah, Abraham ibn Ezra, who wrote many books about this, and he said that we are under this influence, but when in the same sugya in the Talmud, it also says en mazal Israel. So the rabbis, they go back and forth. They say one thing, and then fast forward a few pages, they're saying the complete opposite, right? So they're like en mazal Israel. So it's like, how's that possible? We're either under the influence or we're not under the influence. So what is the key that determines whether we are or are not under the influence?
Free will.
You're right, your free will, but what else?
Is the moon got to do with it or something?
No, the moon that's something else. So what do you think the rabbis will say? What is going to determine whether you are or are not under the influence of the stars?
Your behavior?
What's that? Your kavanah. Okay, so when they say en mazal Israel, what's unique to the Jewish people? What do we have that nobody else has? What? Exactly. So when we plug in to Hashem through the Torah, we are above the stars. Now, where do we learn this? Who teaches us this? Who's the first person in the Torah that is referenced with astrology? Avraham Avinu. And what's the first thing that Hashem tells Avraham that's related to stars? What did he say to him? Your children will be like stars. But before he tells them children will be like stars, what does he tell him? He says, go outside, right? If you read if I had a chumash here, I would show it, go outside. So Rashi says, what does he mean go outside? Like, well, there's no extra words in the Torah. Why did he have to tell him go outside? To tell him that Abraham was an astrologer and he understood how to interpret the influences of the stars, and he's showing him go outside of it. Because Abraham was like, you're promising me a child, and I'm like 89. How old was he? He was like almost like 100 years old, whatever. He's like, in the stars, it doesn't show that I'm going to have a child at this age. So Hashem goes to him, go outside. Go above the influence of the stars. I'm going to show you how when you're plugged into me, when you're plugged into Hashem, when you're plugged into Torah, you can, everything is possible, and you could go above and beyond what is your mazal. And that's a big lesson that we learn from Avraham Avinu, is that we can always access something beyond what is our destiny. Hashem always gives us the power to do that. But the key to that is you have to be plugged into Hashem. You have to be plugged into the spiritual system of the Torah and the mitzvot and tefillot and kavanot and all of that. That's the secret key to be able to overcome above reality. Did anybody have a question? Did you have a question?
You also gotta change his name.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of things change in Mazal. Meshaneh makom, meshaneh mazal. In Kabbalah, we learned that a person's Hebrew name hovers over their keter, right? And that the aura from the Ein Sof comes through keter, right? So that when you're davening, that's why there's a Kabbalistic minhag in the morning when you say Modani, that you meditate on your name, a shiluv between your Hebrew name and Hashem's holy name, because you want to draw down the name. Your Hebrew name is the channel for your bracha. That's why it's so important that we always use our Hebrew name every day. If you want to tap into your destiny, you have to use your Hebrew name. Even if you have an English name, you have to have someone call you by your Hebrew name at least once a day in order to draw down the mazal that is going to come through, because speech activates energy. And if you don't speak it, if you don't use your Hebrew name, how are you going to access the bracha that is your neshama, right? Your neshama is connected to your. So thank you for mentioning the name. Okay. What's that?
Can you Alexa, or you have to use-
I love that. That's awesome. Okay. So there's a very famous rabbi, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto Ramchal. He wrote a really awesome book called Derech Hashem, where he talks a lot about astrology. He explains it almost like an upside down tree. Right? The upside down tree, the roots are in Shamayim in the upper world, and the branches are in the lower world. So what we're seeing, everything in the physical world is really a manifestation of what's happening in the spiritual world. And what Hashem gave us by giving us the Torah and the mitzvot and davening, he gave us tools to be able to manipulate that we can change that. But we still need to know what is the chomer, what is the form that we're working with. And that's what astrology teaches us. It teaches us what do we have to play with, what do we have to work with, and how can we manipulate it to serve who we are. Now, one of the questions that I always had learning about astrology was like, how does this actually happen? How does it go from spirit to matter? What is the interface that actually transforms this spiritual energy system and then manifests? Like, how is it possible that planets up there can have an impact on us down here? Anybody have a clue before I give you the answer? Yes?
Well, everything at its core is an energetic frequency,
Yes.
so it's just changing form.
But how does right? How does it change the form?
It's in the frequency of it, the density is it.
Yeah, that's one angle. Anybody else?
The cosmos, when we go from Shemayim to Harbour.
Right, and what's the interface?
I've
Speech,
seen that
you-
also, I don't know how you actually want.
Wait, one at a time, go ahead.
Each planet have a specific composition.
Yeah, so in the Zohar, we learn that and this is also in the Sefer Yetzirah, we learn that the Hashem uses angels, right? Angels are Hashem's messengers, and angels are basically energy consciousness, and they're the ones that channel Hashem's energy. And so angels are in charge of certain planets. So through planets, the energetic system of angels is manifested. And that's like something very well known in Kabbalah. And actually, when you learn Kabbalah and you learn the name of angels, you learn how, like, when you meditate on the name of certain angels, you're able to shift the energy of your day by connecting to that. So we can go deep on the Kabbalistic stuff, but let's get to the fun stuff. So right now, what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about your personal charts and a big question that everyone asks me. So for example, people always ask me, I have a twin. She was born on the same day as me, same location, a few minutes later. How is it that we're so different? By the way, I have like tons of twins in my family, so I've seen this. How are we so different? How is it possible that, people who have the same birthdays are completely different? What do you think the answer is?
One shows the light.
So you're saying free will? Because right, so you're saying they're activating different aspects of right, that's a good point. Anything else?
So, excuse me, the question is why they born on the same day?
Yeah.
They're so different?
Yeah, you
Because
have,
of the time they born, they make them different.
yeah, you mean like the rising, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
No, the planets are something that is more